Welcome to Cruise Industry News. U.S. bans Cuba travel. This is volume 32A for June the 5th. Literally within minutes of publishing Cruise Industry News yesterday, this news broke from Washington, and to me it demanded doing a supplement to yesterday's Cruise Industry News rather than waiting till next week. The U.S. Department of Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control has unveiled amendments to the Cuban Assets Control regulations to further implement the president's foreign policy on Cuba. In short, the U.S. will no longer allow people-to-people travel, which was utilized by many cruise lines to make Cuba ports of call. Cuba continues to play a destabilizing role in the Western Hemisphere, providing a communist foothold in the region and propping up U.S. adversaries in places like Venezuela and Nicaragua by fomenting instability, undermining the rule of law, and suppressing democratic process, said Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin. This administration has made a strategic decision to reverse the loosening of sanctions and other restrictions on the Cuban regime. These actions will help to keep U.S. dollars out of the hands of Cuban military, intelligence, and security services. That was the continuation of the statement from the Treasury Office. Shortly after President Trump made this announcement several weeks ago, CLIA, the Cruise Line International Association, and Carnival Cruise Lines objected to it and filed a writ in federal court to try to stop this ban. That has not been heard yet. As of 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on June the 5th, 2 cruise lines have canceled port stops in Cuba. Royal Caribbean and Virgin Voyages have canceled stops due to the new travel restrictions set in place by the U.S. government. Royal Caribbean has changed the itineraries on sailings from June 5th and June 6th, which both had stops in Cuba. And according to Virgin Voyages, in a quote, the U.S. government announced today that effective tomorrow, that is today, new travel restrictions will be implemented that eliminate the ability for cruise ships to travel to Cuba. We are disappointed to hear that. So far, there's been no word from Carnival Cruise Line and its subsidiary cruise line companies. Obviously, this is a fluid situation and will continue sometime into the future. Seems to me the President of the United States has managed to alienate the entire cruise and travel industry. That wraps up today's episode of Cruise Industry News. We regularly post videos on all facets of the cruise and travel industry, so if you'd like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, chilli chats, and the weekly episode of Cruise Industry News, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner. And we'll see ya at the next episode of Cruise Industry News.